Hey, I'm so glad you're here. We have finished editing this 3-part series, and I'm so excited to bring it to you. Did I expect 3 parts? I did not. But this is awesome. This is rich, and this is going to be so much fun. So this is a 3-part series on sibling dynamics and family businesses. And I invited 3 guests, Shannon, Andrew, and Mark, who have 3 very different experiences, because that's what being a next gen is. It's that breadth of experience that we all have. So from 12 siblings down to working with a sibling and then passing to his 2 kids who are siblings. There's a lot of good stuff in here about roles, responsibilities, figuring things out. So here in this episode, we're going to get into all of that. If you've worked with a sibling, are thinking about it, or maybe you're forced to, this one is for you. Let's get into part 1. All right, well, welcome to the Your Next Gen Friend podcast. I'm Andrea, and today I'm joined by 3 thoughtful leaders from family businesses, and we're going to have a real conversation about what it's like to work with siblings. So we're going to talk about good stuff, hard stuff, unexpected stuff, when you love them and maybe hate them a little bit at the same time. Every once in a while, that can be an experience. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation about what it looks like to grow, lead, and stay in relationship with siblings along the way. So I would love to just start with brief introduction so that everyone listening can get to know who's here today. So that'll be, let's just do your name, what generation you are in your family, what your family business does, and then how many siblings are or were involved in the business. Let's start with Shannon because she has the biggest family, and we'll work our way down.
Yeah, okay. So I am Shannon, and I represent Gen 2. Our family business is a large farming operation that our father built from nothing to 4,000 acres that we run today. And I am one of 12 kids, if you can imagine it. And there are, gosh, I'm probably going to get the number wrong, but on any given day, there's probably like maybe 6 of us that are still very much involved in the day-to-day.
So glad you're here. There's going to be a lot of sibling dynamics for sure to talk about. All right, let's go Andrew, and then we'll do Mark.
Hey, how are you? My name is Andrew Salmon. I am Gen 3 at Salmon Health Retirement, which is a senior healthcare and housing business located in Milford, Massachusetts. We employ about 1,500 people and care for 2,500 folks across our state. We have a binding board of directors, so we're pretty advanced in that sense. We have 2 siblings in the business, myself and my brother. He's the CEO and I am the chief future officer. My sister-in-law is also in the business, along with my brother-in-law. We have 2 siblings that are not a part of the day-to-day operations, but are owners. So there are 4 of us, and I'm also the founder of Open Coaching, which is an executive platform for coaching, and we do have options for folks in a family business.
Well, so glad you're here, Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
And Mark.
Yeah, my name is Mark Mendes. I am second generation of Mendes Hay. I branched off and started my own division of MMT Ag Transport and Trading, and we feed cows here in the Central Valley of California. It's a large dairy and feedlot area, and basically what we do is buy and sell feed, buy it from the farmers, sell it to the consumers, and just help people feed their cows. So along with the trading, we also do the transporting, and that's really more of what the family is involved in. My dad started the company in 1971, right out of school, and I have one older brother who is not a part of the business, and I'm also in the middle of transferring the business over to my children. So I have 2 boys, Zachary and Ryder. Zach's 22 and Ryder's 16. Another interesting dynamic that I thought would really bring something to this panel today is that I also have a younger brother who's the same age as my oldest son. And so he is also involved in the business, and that really adds another aspect into the situation of having also a sibling who's really more of the next generation. So it's kind of cool.
Cool. And for the listeners who maybe don't know my story, I'm one of three. My dad built and sold his business. So now we're involved in, I'll call it a small family office, our family limited partnership, managing investments and sort of just thinking about what's the future of our family and our legacy and some of those things as we move through and navigate. So no active business, but a family office in many ways is a little business, even if you're not actively working in it full time. There's still a lot that goes on there. Awesome. I thought maybe to start, let's just dig into like that growth that you went through personally to get into the business, and especially in the context of our conversation today with the sibling dynamics. How did you land on the roles that you play currently in your business? And was there any tension or conflict with siblings or with parents in relation to siblings, and who should take what role and what that looked like? Andrew, do you want to start?
Sure. So my brother is the CEO. He is the middle child. Our oldest brother is not in the business. And my sister is the second oldest, and she was in the business for a long time and retired about 10 years ago. I came into the business about 20 years ago after working for a large national competitor of ours where I really enjoyed it. I always knew this is what I wanted to do. Didn't understand what it meant, right? I knew I wanted to be a part of the business, but didn't conceptually understand the family side to business. I was really good at my job outside of the business and came in. So I started off in operations as an executive director of one of our properties, and then over time grew into different roles, including sales, help with marketing, kind of jack of all trades at times. But I think the one thing that we did process-wise when I came in business is we were working with a consulting firm that was founded by a guy named Paul Karofsky. And he really brought a lot of texture and perspective to us and introduced us to coaches. So I'm a coach today because of where we started. So my process of getting to where I am today started just as part of natural succession planning. We had an outside CEO, and he had set a time frame to leave, and we had to comply with that process, right? So we engaged a couple different people. I got a great person, and we essentially created two paths. And then I worked with my brother, who was at that point the VP of quality and the heir apparent to the CEO throne. And we said, what makes the most sense? These are two things that I'm very comfortable with doing. I bring value to it, and I'd be super happy doing it. So we collaborated and picked a path and stuck to it. And that path has led me to 3 or 4 different stops along the way to getting to Chief Future Officer, and it's created a ton of happiness. There's been bumps along the way, but I think because we started off with a clear path, for both of us, we had a lot of success getting there.
Yeah, that's great. And that was driven a lot by the people that you brought in to help you, or in collaboration with your brother, kind of really saying like, let's figure out a path to bring you in, or how did that work exactly?
It probably came of a mixture of both. You know, I think that he and I were very close. I'm 8 years younger than him, 10 to my next sibling and 12 to my oldest. So he's always been a key piece of my life, right? He can be a pain in the ass at times, and I'm probably a pain in the ass to him. But he wants nothing more than the best for me. So, you know, sure, there was tension. But under the tension, I knew he had my back. And I knew that we both had concerns and fears about the future. And so we just kind of worked together on it. And the consultants were huge because it creates space and time. But also allowed us to have somebody outside of our family or our core leadership group to talk to and get things off our chest. And he had great contacts with other folks, peer groups, other family business forums. So we had a ton of support. And I think in the end, it wasn't always smooth, but I knew that he would have my back. And if we were arguing, it would pass. It might take weeks or months, but I ultimately knew he's my brother. I love him. He loves me, and we'll figure it out. So it might not be the sexy answer to get clicks and leads, but it's the honest one. And in that we have so much time and space from that point, it's hard to go back to where I was at that time. But I can absolutely tell you that when we set the process up, it was to do it the right way. And each person in the process made a commitment to do it the right way. And because of that connection, we got to the outcome that I think we all wanted, which was a successful business in a family that could come together for Thanksgiving and not kill each other. Oftentimes, those are too low bars to cross, but very, very hard to attain. So I'm very grateful to all four of us and my parents for helping us get to that point, because it wasn't simple, it wasn't easy, and it takes a lot of people to get us to where we have to be.
It sounds like there's some strong family values potentially inside the business, but also just beyond the business in the family system itself, which is awesome.
Yeah, I always say that my parents are great at business, but I think they also were great at supporting their family individually. And oftentimes that means collective stress, but I think they did a very good job navigating through the ups and downs.
Thanks for sharing. I love it. It sounds like there was this really intentional approach as you sort of stepped in and thought about what the future looked like there. So
yeah, I mean, the most important thing that a person said to me along the way was our former CEO. And he said, Andrew, your success is my only option. So when you hear that, you're like, damn, let's go. Like it's on me, and everyone wants me to be successful because me being me here allows us to be us. And the converse is correct too. Like Matt is the CEO. I have to support his ass, because if we don't, we all go down. So it really is important, I think, for people to hear that, in the sense that your success in your family business is the business's only option. And that, on an individual basis, has really propelled me through those dark times.
I'm going to go to Shannon next, because maybe the way that leadership transferred when you think of a parent passing and grief, and maybe there not being all the pieces in place to start. I know some of that is part of your story. It's not your whole story. So could you share a little more with us about how you guys landed where you are today?
Yeah, I would really love to have a story as neat and tidy as Andrew's, and ours is not there. And we're not done yet. So we have one parent that's passed in Gen 1, but we still have one parent that's still very much here. She's 85 years old, and she's still very much committed to the business at 85. So I would say ours has been a little bit more haphazard in nature. As my dad's health declined, two of my brothers kind of gradually assumed responsibility. Some of it kind of messy. Some of it, the guys at the grain elevator calling my brother and saying, hey, I think maybe you don't want your dad to be selling your corn anymore. It's time for somebody else to get involved. So in that sense, it wasn't neat and tidy, but what I have really admired and appreciated about all of my siblings that are involved is how we've each approached it, I think, like with an open hand and with an open heart to say, hey, I'm here, I'm willing, I'm ready when you're ready. And I've really appreciated how I have two brothers in particular who, really one in particular who like leads and spearheads from a strategy perspective, but the two of them really expressed a willingness and a desire for me to get involved. And that made it feel safe for me to do so, because I didn't want to step on any toes. I was very concerned about that. But there are things that our mom does from a finance perspective that nobody was doing, nobody was learning how to do. And so their encouragement to say, we'd love to see you get involved. We know you have a penchant for numbers, for details, for the legal stuff, and we don't want anything to do with that. We know you would love to work with the NRCS office. We don't want to have anything to do with that. Would you please? I really appreciated the opening that was created in that sense. But Andrea, we're still very much figuring it out. We are flying the plane while building it in terms of what Gen 2 is going to look like. We're in active coaching relationship to try to sift and sort out roles and responsibilities. And we're not there yet. But I'm grateful that we are opening up pathways to get it there.
Yeah. So far, I know you have a lot of siblings, and there have been some that have opted in and some that have sort of chosen. Like, what would you say, aside from you were invited in by sort of two of your brothers, what is that like attribute or that thing that has made some of your siblings say, yes, we want to stay, or we want to participate, or we see a future. I want to participate in figuring out and designing what it looks like for us as a Gen 2 to participate in this.
Well, I don't know if the answer is as rose glasses as you might want it to be. There are some that would like to be involved that are not going to be involved for different reasons. And truly, that has been a part of my growth edge, to be okay feeling that tension of being, quote unquote, one of the chosen ones to get up to the table and lead, and being okay with the discomfort of the resistance, the tension that might be there from those who maybe want to be involved but are not being chosen for different reasons. Keep in mind, too, that we have a huge generational span. I think Mark was speaking to how one of his sons is the same age as his brother, maybe. We have that. I am the same age as some of my kids' grandkids, right? And so there was some strategy involved to who mom was choosing to say, okay, the youngest two, we're actually going to have them play critical roles because some of you are approaching 70. And we want to make sure that we have a next generation that can really foster the way forward. But is there tension in that? Absolutely. And have I had to grow my capacity to sit in the tension? 100%. And am I grateful for my two brothers who are willing to back me up when maybe my tendency would be to just say, okay, forget it, never mind, I don't need to be involved. She can be involved, or they can be involved instead of me. Very vulnerable.
Yeah. People think like, oh, family business. Some people have this perception like it's handed down to you, like it must be so easy. You have this like privilege that the business just became yours. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, people have told me that before, like that is like there is so much pressure. So we see you. I saw a reaction from people on the screen. Like we know that there is pressure and there is tension, and there's a lot of growth that you get to have inside that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you have never felt seen in that way, know that we all see you, because this is really, really hard. Yeah. Really hard stuff.
My mom would say she raised 12 chiefs and no Indians. And so there comes a point where some of us have to, and there was a point for me where I took a step back and I said, okay, forget it. Like if it's going to cause this much angst, like I don't need to be involved, because I see somebody needs to be willing to follow in this group of 12 people. And that was a messy thing for us to work through as a family. And we're still working through it to figure out who is prepared to sit in the follower chair and be grateful for the role that they don't have to play, and who is willing, frankly, to keep leading.
And what a gift those siblings can give us when they choose to opt out because it's not right for them. That's Completely. Also a gift for those that stay. So, Mark, let's talk about your story, your role, and I would love to dig into what you're thinking about with your boys a little bit and kind of their future roles as they step in.
First of all, I have so much to say to both Andrew and Shannon. So I was really tuned in on taking a lot of notes on things that they said. But I'll talk about myself first. So, starting with the business, I should say. I grew up in it, sitting on my dad's lap in the truck, watching everything that he did. But I was the second son. I'm 4 years younger than my oldest brother. And he was really the one that was kind of being tailored into the position of taking over the company. They expected me to do other things, but our roles really flipped. And so, I think that's an important thing to pay attention to for some of those people who have younger children, is that it's important to guide them towards the business. If I think most entrepreneurs do hope that all of their children would be a part of the business if the business is going well, but you never really know. And so it's good to prepare all of them for their individual strengths, and kind of point them and aim them in that direction. But yeah, my oldest brother, he took a different line after college, or kind of in the middle of college, decided that he wanted to do something else. And then it was at that point where I was kind of the only one left at that time. And so I started helping out. I started learning a lot later on in the journey. There were things that at 16 that I didn't know, that things that he knew at 8, and so it was, there was a lot of learning curves, and I was just basically, developed into what I'm doing now, kind of on a crash course. And in a way, it was good. I really got to learn firsthand from the bottom all the way up. I wasn't raised in which I think is very important, but I wasn't really raised to be the leader. I was a leader by the course of learning every other position, which really I find is a strength now, and is something that I've also done with my boys. And so that's kind of the mentality that I've done with them, led them with, of, again, really teaching them both from a very young age of, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and go ahead and try this. And I think that that's a really important part as well, is that we give our children a chance, that age appropriate. There's different steps that they can do to learn, and that accomplishes multiple different things here. One of those is, obviously, we are preparing them for the role, but what we're also doing is allowing ourselves time to go and do other things. I'm able to sit here today because of the work that I've done with them, and that they can now take over the daily operations, and it has allowed me to focus more on the business and other areas, and work on the business rather than for the business. And so it also is serving me as much as it is for them. And so that's something that we're really focused on. And then we talked about how I have a younger brother that's also in the business as well now. And so that's really interesting. I was just having a conversation this morning about it, unexpectedly, not referring to this conversation that we're going to have today, but it just kind of led into this, that it's a really interesting dynamic of that. I've always, and I'm really glad that I've always been focused on kind of nurturing this relationship and the whole dynamic of everybody working together. It would have been really easy, especially with a lot of the outside voices that are coming on, from mothers and from fathers and children here of all kind of, like, having their own motives for who they feel like should be in what role, and really just for protection and self-preservation. But at the same time, I'm kind of been in a role of, like, I could lead this to go one way or the other, where it could be a struggle, a power struggle, or it could be a thing of unity. And that's really what I've put a lot of energy and focus into. And it's working out really well. Everybody works well together, and that's the main thing. We all get along very well on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that is extremely important to me. I know a lot of families that unfortunately don't have that same story, and so that's something that's really, I think, should be the focus of any succession or just family business altogether, of just the relationship basis. And that's, Andrea, you and Elizabeth both, I've learned so much about that from following your guys' content, so I really appreciate that as well.
Reflecting back on the beginning of our conversation, I just feel so grateful to have met these businesses from 12 people down to just 2 and passing to the next generation. I'm so glad that you had a chance to meet them, and I can't wait to have them share a little bit more about their story. So in part 2, we're going to go even deeper into the messy middle. So what happens when things aren't clear, when the rules start to clash, or when communication falls apart. So one of my favorite lines from the next episode, we're still flying the plane as we build it. So if that's relatable, I hope to see you there. So if you're in that stage of in between, half leader, half sibling, half trying not to lose your mind, you don't want to miss what's coming next. I'll see you in part 2.